Welcome back to Fitness, Nutrition and Soul channel. And today we're going to talk about insulin and diabetes. I've already made a video about the insulin resistance and insulin sensitivity, so you guys can watch that video if you want to know more about the insulin. So first of all, what is insulin? Insulin is a hormone. It's a protein-based hormone produced by the pancreas. So pancreas actually does the two jobs. So it produces the insulin and it secretes the digestive enzymes which helps you to digest the food. So within the pancreas, you got four main different type of cells, which are beta cell, alpha cell, delta cell and F cell. So beta cells produce the insulin, alpha cell produce the glucagon, and then the delta and the F cells further on. But in this video, we're just going to talk about the insulin and glucagon. So every time when we eat food, your blood sugar level goes up, especially if you eat the carbohydrate-based food. Then, so that the blood sugar level doesn't go to the hyperglycemia, the insulin tries to manage the blood sugar level. So it helps to balance the blood sugar level. It converts the glucose into the glycogen, and it also accelerates the lipogenesis. That means that it causes the fat gain. But generally it happens when you're eating more than what is required. And insulin also helps to shove the protein or amino acids into the cell as well. Now glucagon is exactly opposite to the insulin. So for example, that you haven't eaten from the last 3 or 4 hours, so that your blood sugar level doesn't drop down or you go to the hypoglycemia, glucagon then activates and it raises the blood sugar level by accelerating the breaking down of the glucose from the liver. So as I said, like insulin, it converts the glucose into the glycogen. The glycogen actually saves in the liver and in the muscle in the form of glycogen, and then blood sugar level goes down, glucagon activates and then accelerate the breakdown of glucose. So they pretty much try to work opposite to each other to balance the blood sugar levels so that you don't have the hypoglycemia and the hyperglycemia. And there are other important roles as well, which we're not going to discuss in this video. So what happens is that when you become insulin resistant, which I said you can watch my video again, if you become the insulin resistant, it causes the type 2 diabetes. So first of all, the diabetes is actually the two types of the diabetes. There's actually more, but the main ones are type 1 and type 2. So in the type 1 diabetes, it's the autoimmune disease. In type 1 diabetes, your body doesn't produce insulin whatsoever, or on a very, very little quantity. And generally, you are born with it. And with the type 2 diabetes, it's the lifestyle disease. It generally happens when your cells become resistant to the insulin, which happens due to the different various reasons, which we're gonna discuss later. And you can also watch my insulin resistant video as well. So in the type 2 diabetes, which is a lifestyle, and 90% of the people actually are type 2 diabetes. So it's the insulin is produced by the pancreas, but it's not in a sufficient quantity to manage the blood sugar level. So let's have a look at what are the symptoms of the high blood sugar level. It increases the thirst, frequent urination, unexplained weight loss, feeling tired, and increased hunger. Now let's have a look or break it down why these things happen. So when your blood sugar level goes up, your body's produce the insulin. So a couple of things. Either your cell has become resistant to insulin, so that means your blood sugar level will be high in the blood, or your pancreas is not producing enough insulin. So what happens is, then the excess of the glucose in the blood, the kidney excrete it out in the urea. So when it is excreted out, that's why it increases the frequent urination. And because you are excreting it out, it causes the dehydration. then it increases the thirst. Feeling tired and hunger. The cell is still not getting the nutrient because the cell has become resistant to the insulin. So they're not getting, as I explained in my last insulin video as well, that insulin is like a key. It opens the cell and then get the nutrients inside the cell. So, and that thing is not happening to the optimal level. So the cell is actually depriving of the nutrient. So that causes the hunger, and then that causes the tiredness as well. And now let's have a look at what are the risk factor, or what increase the risk factor for the type 2 diabetes, not type 1 yet, type 2 diabetes. So the very first one is the insulin resistant. The second one is overweight. Third one is sedentary lifestyle. Fourth one is polycystic ovarian syndrome. That generally happens, that happens in female, and they found that they can improve by having a low to moderate amount of carbs and the high protein. The fifth one is the genes. Genes again, for example, the type 1 diabetes is a gene-based one, and another thing with the type 2 diabetes too, like for example, the originals in Australia, they are 3 to 4 times more likely to have the diabetes than the white Australian people. And it is same in New Zealand, and it is same in many community, that some community they are more prone to have the diabetes within the given weight range due to the genes. That doesn't mean they cannot manage, but their risk factor is 3 to 4 times more than the other people. So people who carry the more fat around the waist. So for example, what they found is the people who actually carries more around the middle section. That means they're carrying the more fat around the visceral organs. So when your body start depositing the fat in the visceral organs, which includes your liver, kidneys, your intestine and all, then it doesn't work to the optimal level as well. So that can also increase the risk factor for the type 2 diabetes as well. Seventh one is the lack of the sleep. And that one I have read that the people who sleep less than 5 hours, they are more, the chances of getting the diabetes increase a lot as compared to the people who sleep 7 to 8 hours. Smoking is the 8th one. 9th one is the excess sugar in the diet, not the carbohydrates I'm saying here, excess sugar in diet. And 10th one is they found the saturated fat and the trans fats can also increase the risk factor for the diabetes as well. So now we have learned about what are the things which increase the risk factor. You would think what we can do to decrease the risk factor. Exactly opposite. For example, if you're overweight, drop the weight. If you're living the sedentary lifestyle, be active. Do any kind of physical activity, which I've explained in my last videos as well. With the PCOS, that one is better you talk to the doctor and then manage with the again with the diet and the exercise. With the genes, there's nothing much you can do. However, you can still manage with the diet and the exercise. So people who carry the more fat, try to drop the fat. If you're not sleeping enough, try to sleep a little bit more. If you're smoking, try to quit it. And drop down the sugar and drop down the saturated fat and the trans fat in the diet. So do pretty much exactly the opposite, what increase the factor that will then decrease the risk factor for the diabetes. So now let's have a look that when you got the diabetes, how it can increase the risk factor for the other diseases. So, what are the other diseases? So the very first one is the heart attack. Second one is stroke. The third one is blindness, or even can cause the cataract. And the reason is that the excess, I can't really remember properly at the moment, but behind your retina in your eye, behind the lens, the excess of glucose start depositing in the lens of our eye, and then over the time of the period, that lens start becoming very blurry. So it's like, for example, I'm wearing the glasses. What if I start smearing something on it every single day, and then that can cause the blindness or the blurry vision. The fourth one is the kidney failure, again because it put too much pressure on the kidney to excrete the excess glucose out of your system. Blurred vision, which I mentioned, the blindness again. Increase the risk factor for the amputation as well. And the seventh one is the dementia and the Alzheimer as well. So I was just checking out that how many people got the diabetes in the world, and I think it was different sources I looked around, and it was nearly somewhere between 400 to 500 million people, or it could be even more. I'm not 100% sure. That's just a roughly idea. There's 500 million people in the world got the diabetes, and just think about it, how much money it is costing. Like especially when you type 1 diabetes, you gotta have the insulin injection. With the type 2 diabetes, if you don't manage, you will end up on the insulin injection. Imagine the cost of it. And there's been some cases where actually in America, I think, if I'm not wrong, I could be wrong, sorry guys, but I think it was in America that where this guy, he died because he didn't have the money to buy the injection, the insulin injection. And that's just an example that, you know, that it is manageable, and that's the reason I always focus on managing the insulin or managing the diabetes, because it's a lifestyle factor, except the type 1. So let's have a look at the major 5 countries who got the diabetes. So the very first one is India, second one is China, third one is United States America, fourth one is Indonesia, and fifth one is Japan. Japan, I was really surprised because I thought Japanese are really one of the fittest people in the world. Or not fittest, but they are one of the healthiest people in the world. Another thing which they have found is now, and they're still researching on that the pollution, air pollution, is also increasing the risk factor for the diabetes as well. I know it doesn't sound right, but you can Google about it. And so another interesting fact which I found was that the diabetes is one of the first described disease in 1500 BCE. That means nearly 3,500 years before, by Indian physician as a honey urine. So what used to happen that the ants used to go around the urine, and then that's why they gave the name honey urine. And type 1 and type 2 by the Sushruta and Charaka in 400 to 580, with the type 1 associated with the youth and type 2 with the overweight. They didn't know exactly what it was. It's generally like in 19th or 20th century they found it out about the insulin and all, and then they developed the medication and the injections and things like that. And that's it guys. I hope you learned from this video, and if you have any questions, put it in your comment. And thanks for watching my channel. And last thing, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do it now, and also press the notification button. And I will see you next week with another video. Thanks guys.